Morning guys, I'm Blackie and welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to talk to the silver wolves a little bit because it's now fall and we're getting cool, and in the upper areas of the country you may have already got some snow in. So how about for us old guys that we want to go out, and old ladies as well, we want to go out and spend some time camping out, or at least spending some time out with the grandkids out there and stuff like that. Well, there's one thing you got to understand, being cold. Now let's discuss that for a second. How it applies to us old silver wolves. When we're young and everything's pumping good and etc., we don't seem to get cold. Look at any small kid, they'll run around butt naked in a snow drift. They just don't seem to notice the cold at all. They'll run around barefoot, they're bare-legged or whatever, where it would just chill us to bone. And at our age, once we get cold, not fun anymore. Everything hurts. The arthritis hurts, that shoulder hurts, that hip hurts, those ankles hurt, whatever. And at our age we simply don't circulate that well anymore. So we'll chug a lug coffee trying to keep the adrenaline up, or should I say the caffeine is a stimulant to keep circulation going, and hopefully that'll raise up our core temperature. Let's understand core temperature just a second. That's the main torso of the body, and the body will sacrifice going out to the hands and feet to redirect that warm blood to keep the core, the head, is one of the most important. So, when I'm going to be going out, and you're going to be going out in the cool, two things you got to understand. If your feet or your hands get cold, put a hat on. Put a toboggan on or something, because the number one place we're going to lose heat is up here on this head. And that, the brain's got to be kept warm, so the body's going to go extra hard trying to keep this warm. And so if your hands and feet get cold, try putting a hat on. See if that helps, because then it doesn't have to rob as much, and it's got more left over to give to the hands and feet in circulation. If that doesn't work, then try the gloves and etc. And we've all done the glove bit and stuff like that, but it doesn't always work. You know, I put my stuff on, it doesn't do anything. Well, that's to understand that our clothing, even this M65 field jacket I'm wearing, doesn't generate any heat. The only thing that it does is it just traps the heat we are producing. And so if we're not producing anything, we're not getting it. So that's reading them hands is ice cold. The body shut off the heat to it. So putting in a glove doesn't automatically make it warmer. Now it does slow down the loss of it, the residual heat in the hand, and that minor circulation the body does. But that real warm, we need an outside source for that. Luckily today there are a lot of sources for it. Now the hand warmers and stuff, there are various kinds, and they do various jobs, and you need to educate yourself a little bit of what am I getting. Now bring your reading glasses with you and look on the back of it. If it doesn't say in big bold print like this one, it just says stick on, we'll get to that in a minute, body warmers. Okay, that meant that it's got a little sticky pad so you can stick it in the back of a coat or something against your kidneys, just like you see here in the image. Why the kidneys? If I heat the kidneys, I'm heating the blood. And that's how an old radiator or your car heater works, isn't it? Hot liquid circulating around, and that's the way that the body usually tries to warm itself, is by circulation of blood and other fluids around the body. So if I put a heat source on my kidneys, I help heat the body up. But again, read and figure out what the temperature is. I have found in my experience that there are three distinct temperature types of hand warmers. There are those that are meant to be in contact with the body. These are the in the glove hand warmers, the in the sock hand warmers, and we'll get back to them in a second. And then those are around 100 degrees, okay, close to our body temperature. Then there's those that's a little above body temperature, like 130 or 140, somewhere in there. And then there is the hot ones that are rated like 160 to 180. Those are not to be put in direct contact with the skin for long, because you can burn yourself. You're not going to burn yourself just by touching it. But 180 is about what the temperature of hot tap water coming out. But if you put it in contact with your body long term, like I put this in a sleeping bag and put it up against my leg where I got that arthritis, and I go to sleep, I could burn myself. I don't want that kind of heat, see. So educate yourself by reading back here on the back, and it'll tell you what the temperature is of this particular type, or its target. It'd be a little above or below, but it gives you an idea. Now let's go back to those toe warmers. You'll find them listed, and they're to go in your sock inside your boot. Here's a trick. Wear 2 pair of socks. I like to wear a thin nylon sock, like a dress sock, and then I put my heavy wool sock on over that. That allows them to slide together so I can move my toes easier. Whereas that wool, once it gets pulled tight, it kind of like traps your toes, and that can hurt circulation. I need to be able to flex my feet. So I always put the silky like dress sock on, and then put a wool sock on in the wintertime inside the boot. I also want my boots to be a size too large. So if I wear normally a size 9, my winter boots are a size 10 to make room for heavy socks. See? The boot itself is just holding the shape. It is maybe insulated or not. But I want to be able to add insulation. So I automatically go for a larger size because I'm going to be wearing heavier socks, right? Between those 2 socks is where I'll put that hand warmer, that little toe warmer. Like if I've got, especially on my right foot, that right toe's been broke so many times, it just, oh, it hurts on cold days. And so sometimes I'll put one of them hand warmers, the toe warmers on top right there. So it's between the 2 sock layers. That way it'll hold that warmth right there on top of that toe and keep it. Since it's on, those hand warmer and toe warmers are only 100 degrees, I don't have to worry about burning from it. Okay. Now these type like this that say stick on, these can be very good in a sleeping bag. Remember, a sleeping bag doesn't generate any body heat for us either. It's our bodies generating the heat. So I can take this and stick this into the very bottom of the sleeping bag at the toe. Don't put it on the bottom, put it against the end. That way I can pull my leg away from it if my feet's getting hot, and I can put my foot against it if my feet's getting cool. See, I can flex back and forth. Now, this should be just fine because this is a lot cooler than any kind of dryer and shouldn't be any damage to a sleeping bag, but I don't know what you got. So use a little common sense here, guys. If you're worried about my nylon sleeping bag might not be able to take this and put it into an old sock and then pitch that down there. You can roll that around with your heel, right? But that's one way of doing it to make a difference. Okay. Also, the kidneys. Now I know you're thinking about the hammock. Man, I could take that and just put that underneath me. No, because you can't get off of it. I need to be able to move around. I want to put the heat off slightly to the side of me so that it's there so I can get to it if I get cold and get away from it if I'm getting too warm. So you need to be able to get it off of you as well. Okay. Now while I was up at the Silver Wolves class, James Bender brought this up, and I've got one. I've not tried it yet because I only got one. I'm going to save it for January camp out, but it's called a Uniheat. Okay. What this is for, you find it in a pet section, it's for shipping geckos or plants or things like that in the winter. And it comes up to a total of 100 degrees, but it runs for 72 hours. Okay, 72 hours, that's 3 days. It keeps running. All you got to do is tear it open, let air get to it. Nothing to mix, nothing to whatever. So this is a whole weekend for one of these things. And really, there used to be a U.S. Army hot pad that was surplus years ago, remember? Reminds me of this because once you got it going, it was good for 3 days. Great to put in the foot of a sleeping bag. Great to be sitting there around the fire and just kind of put it where, you know, where the pain is or whatever is a portable heating pad. And to be able to bring your core temperature up. Now, our core temperature. Here is the method that I used in winter camping, and it seems to work well for me. 1, I will eat my big meal, or I will eat a big meal about an hour before I go to bed. So I'm going to heat up that can of ravioli or whatever, something heavy, something's going with chunks. Beef stew is real good for this and stuff like that. And I'm going to eat it about an hour out, and then I'm going to have to, take a 10-100. And then when I go to bed, I'm laying there. My core temperature is warmed up because I just ate a good warm meal. Okay, and I'm going to drink something warm with it as well. That's going to bring up my core temperature. I'm going to have fuel in the fireplace, so to speak, because I've just ate a meal of things like carbs and stuff that's going to give me long-term heat. It's going to take a while to digest. So while it's digesting, the stomach's sitting there generating and moving. That's generating heat. It's causing chemical heat to be created because I'm digesting food. So when I get into my sleeping bag and I curl up, I'm at the maximum setup. I'm my warmest. See, I don't want to ever get in the sleeping bags cold to begin with if I can avoid it, because I've just got to heat up that sleeping bag. So it's an uphill battle from that point. I always, coming up young, I always thought, the sleeping bags will make me warm. I'll be cold. And I'd be in second stage hypothermia, and I'd lay down and I'd wrap up in a really, really good sleeping bag, but I'm not generating heat, see? My body's already burned all them calories trying to keep me warm when I've been out here in the cold in inadequate clothing for several hours. And so therefore, when I get in the sleeping bag, I'm not going to get warm because I'm not generating heat. There's nothing to generate with. I burned up all that fuel, so to speak. So that's the reason I want to eat right before I lay down. Yep, means I'm going to have to get up. And we both know that because we're silver wolves. But what I do is, when I do have to get up, when I roll out, I immediately lay my covers back down. If I open that sleeping bag up and I get out, I immediately lay it back down to trap the warmth of me that's still there. Don't leave it flopped wide open like you do at the house, and then get up and come back 5 minutes later, your blankets are ice cold again. Then you got to reheat from ground up. Slide out and close the door, so to speak. Close it back up. Step over there, take care of nature, and then get back in as quickly as you can so that your core temperature isn't dropped much and your blankets are still warm. Again, putting something like one of these pads down in the bottom to help keep your feet warm. It's your feet that does it. If it's your hands, and my hands get cold when I'm in a bag, some people have told me, and I've had that, take a sock and stick one of the hand warmers in it and have it going so that I can just put it wherever I need, And so if I want to just put it on top of my hand, under my hand, stick my hand in the sock with it, whatever. But I can move it around. It's not trapped in one place. It's going to get too hot. I can move it around. Again, hand warmers and toe warmers that are meant for that in the glove are only around 100 degrees body temp, and so therefore they're not going to burn you. Read the back. If it's a higher temperature, you got to look at it with caution. Hope this gives you some ideas, guys. Please leave any questions or comments down below, and any tips or tricks that you've learned to stay in warm and colder climates. I'd appreciate it. Till next time, guys, I'm Blackie wishing you safe journeys. Have a great day, guys.